Rahul Gandhi became Vice President of the Congress Party in January 2013. The event took place at the AICC meeting in Jaipur. Now, in his acceptance speech, Rahul Gandhi spoke about systemic change as the solution to all Congress's problems. He spoke about decentralization and democratization of the party's workings. But years have passed again, and in people's mind, it's still stuck that the Congress Party is sycophantic in its workings. When Rahul became Congress Vice President, there was only 1 year left for the UPA 2 government at the centre. Coalition fissures, political slip-ups and corruption scams made the headlines each day. And in two crucial assembly polls in 2013, Uttar Pradesh and Gujarat, the loss of seats shook the Congress Party's confidence that their Vice President, Rahul, could deliver. Then in September 2013, at a press conference, India witnessed a new Rahul. The Congress Vice President flexed his political authority by publicly tearing into an ordinance that his own government had promulgated.
My opinion on the ordinance is that it's complete nonsense and that it should be torn up and thrown out.
Rahul Gandhi's image has largely been dictated by his political opponents, and that is a basic recipe for disaster. You cannot run an image if it is run by somebody else. You've got to create that image, and enough effort hasn't gone into that. So the fact is that only when you and the party work in tandem to create a distinct image will you have an image which is not crafted by your enemies.
But nothing could save Rahul and the Congress Party's image in 2014. The party plummeted from 206 seats to a dismal 44 seats in the Lok Sabha. Narendra Modi, the die-hard critic of all things dynastic, foreign and Congress, was given a huge mandate by the people of India.
He knows a lot more than he is willing to indicate he knows. His sense of timing one can question, and if he had done this earlier, would he, could he? Those questions will always resonate tomorrow. But I think that 2014 and the results of 2014 were less Rahul Gandhi's failure and more UPA 2's failure.
It lacks a certain organizational core, it lacks a certain organizational strength, it lacks a certain organizational depth, because what you've had over the last 2 or 3 decades is the erosion of Congress leadership at the state level. So you don't have strong, capable leaders at the provincial level who are trusted to run their own ship without central interference. What this means is that the Congress Party in virtually every state is faction-ridden. Factions, instead of trying to prove their strength on the basis of political mobilization on the ground, aspire to proximity with the so-called high command. So this, in the old days, would be Sonia Gandhi, Ahmed Patel. Now perhaps it's Rahul Gandhi.
Following the crushing defeat, Sonia and Rahul Gandhi offered to resign, but the Congress would have none of that. While introspecting, it was agreed that Rahul had failed to connect with the voters, and the Sangh Parivar's constant taunts of Pappu and Yuvraj severely hurt the building of a leader-like image for him.
If you have an army of people hired by the opposition party to personally malign and attack somebody on social media, over years together, and you deploy huge resources with a singular focus of defaming and denouncing one individual, and they're trying to create a perception. But ultimately, the voters of India see the reality on the ground, as opposed to the perception creation that the opposition tries to make.
In an atmosphere where democracy has become an excuse for the exchange of insults of an increasingly vulgar order, it's not surprising that he has been called that. But what I think is important to note is that he's not been phased. He's not said that because I come from a long line of the leaders of India, that therefore you dare not call me this. Not at all. He says, all right, you call me that, I'll await my time.
In early 2015, Rahul went missing. Not in the literal sense, but official Congress sources said Rahul was on leave at an undisclosed location. For 58 days, the media speculated on where he could be. Mysterious sightings and claims all came to nothing. Finally, almost 2 months after he disappeared, Rahul landed back in India. The Congress fended all queries by saying he had gone to introspect, a narrative that opened Rahul up to further criticism. But the Gandhi who reappeared seemed rejuvenated and reinvigorated. He went into an overdrive of political engagement. With his Soot Boot Ka Sarkar jibe, he finally seemed to land a punch that hurt.
He's come up with effective slogans. I think Soot Boot Ka Sarkar really damaged Narendra Modi in the light of that horrible suit that he wore, right? The monogram suit, and the fact that Modi was pushing the land acquisition bill, which was going to hurt the interests of farmers. His Gabbar Singh tax. I mean, he's been effective in raising issues which highlight the Modi government's pro-business policies. Demonetization, its poor implementation of so many different initiatives has all, I think Rahul Gandhi has exploited them quite well. But at the end of the day, politics isn't just about coming up with a smart one-liner or even coming up with a critique of what the Modi government is doing.
Any politician knows that there are two types of images which is very important to a leader of the masses. The image of the person and the image of the person's party. Now, in the case of Rahul Gandhi, he seems to be in perpetual conflict with the image of what his party had become. And when it came to his own personal image, it either clashed or underlined what is expected of a Gandhi. In either case, the real Rahul, if there be one, is hard to find.
In brand Rahul Gandhi's case, the effectiveness part had to be shown or proven almost in camera, because he didn't have an official role in government, and therefore how do you measure effectiveness? Do you measure it in the visible interventions in government, which are in some senses only as a party man? And the second thing is emotional connect. Emotional connect only comes with very widespread exposure, and I think that if one has to look at Rahul Gandhi's past, the exposure to different audiences was not something that was gone through in a kind of training pattern or in a thrown into the deep end of the pool kind of pattern. He started at the top of the pool, and that's a very difficult place to start or to learn swimming. So I think what has happened to the image of Rahul Gandhi is that effectiveness will always be a question mark, because he hasn't played an active role or a visible role in government. The emotional connect has moved up dramatically, and that has changed 2 times. On the first occasion, he started to do that as a young party man by going to colleges and connecting to kids and things like that. Then he went through a different phase, which I would rather leave non-described for the moment, and I think he dropped out of doing that. And then now he's connecting very effectively with small groups of people, meaning when I mean small groups of people by Indian political standards, anything less than 500 people is a small group of people, and anything in the region of 50,000 plus is a large group of people. I find that he's still more effective in the 500 groups than in the 5 lakh groups. But the fact that he's able to use the inputs of what he gathers from his multiple 500 plus groups is translating into better speeches at the 5 lakh plus groups is a sign of rapid maturing.
You need to have energized cadres. The cadres have to believe that the Congress party exists and is willing to fight as a coherent fighting force with a clear vision. Can he instill that degree of confidence in the party? That really would be the true test of his leadership, rather than merely projecting himself as a brand. And I think that at the end of the day, brand Rahul, whatever that means, has salience or makes sense only if there is a brand Congress that backs it. So you can't have a brand Rahul expecting to take on brand Modi if the Congress doesn't cut it in the eyes of the electorate.
But then came the next round of assembly elections. In 2017, one by one, Congress lost each state that went to polls. From the prestige battle of Uttar Pradesh to Uttarakhand, from Manipur to Goa. The only saving grace was Punjab, but there the credit was taken by the old Congress veteran Captain Amrinder Singh, while everywhere else the blame went to Rahul.
If you want to be on an upward gradient for all of your lived life, you just shouldn't be in politics. Politics, by definition almost, is going up and down. There's a lovely line I came across by Enoch Powell in a book by David Owen, where Powell said that every political life ends in failure except for those that are cut off in mid-flight. So he'd seen his grandmother and he'd seen his father. There were ups and downs. So he must have known when he was taking this step that things were not going to be smooth. And while between 2004 and 2009, he was testing out his ideas on the Youth Congress and the Student Congress, and certainly not always getting the results he had theoretically expected. Once he entered politics in a really vigorous manner, he didn't choose the easy option, which would have been to go to Karnataka, where we were coming into power or we were already in power. What he chose was the most difficult challenge of all for a congressman in Indian politics, which since 1990 or 91 has been Uttar Pradesh. And he threw himself, into the politics, the quagmire of Uttar Pradesh, despite its formidable challenges. And in that first outing, either because of his efforts or because things happen, or because of a combination of both, he did deliver the Congress 21 UP seats.
At the end of the day, the Congress simply lacks the organizational heft in state after state, right? In Gujarat they're well placed, but well placed to do better than they did last time. Whether they'll be enough to dislodge the BJP, we don't know. Himachal, they look set to lose. Karnataka is the next major state election where, if at all they win, it will be because of Siddaramaia's rather clever state-level maneuvering that has put the BJP on the back foot, particularly on the Lingayat issue. So, really what matters is, can he energize the party at the state level? In some ways, Uttar Pradesh and Bihar are a lost cause. Bihar, we don't know. There is disenchantment also against Nitish. But, the Congress is weak organizationally. In Bengal, they have been supplanted by Trinamool Congress. In Assam, they've become weak and, they lost power. So, in state after state, the Congress has ceded ground. And in some cases, in many places, it looks as if it has irrevocably ceded that ground.
The balance sheet for Rahul Gandhi is still in the red. The Congress in his name has lost much more than he has won. But those who believe in him say he has been constantly chipping away at the problems and changing the foundations on which stands the grand old party of India. The fifth generation dynast resurrecting the Congress party is the mission Rahul Gandhi is on. But of more immediate concern for everyone would be the outcome of Mission 2019. Will David fell Goliath? Or will the hand go limp in defeat?
I think idea is to keep sticking to your fundamental beliefs, and that's what Mr. Gandhi is doing. We may lose or win an election, but the basic convictions that the Congress party has on what basis of reform, basis of equality, equity, shareholdership of every citizen without discrimination, no religious biases, no caste biases, that is the strength of our Congress party, and we have lived by those fundamentals without compromising on it. Many smaller parties and even the BJP has compromised enough times. But we have chosen not to compromise despite having electoral defeats. It's okay. We'll win and we'll lose. But we must not compromise. And that's something I think both Mrs. Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi have stuck by.
The biggest challenge that Rahul Gandhi would face is in terms of proven track record of administrative experience. But Rahul Gandhi can sort that out quite quickly. All he has to do is appoint 3 or 4 conciliaries who will be people with experience, yet young, people with effectiveness and proven, people with integrity and image. He needs to find those people. They exist because the Congress party has a huge choice set, and he needs to empower them to be the initial team Rahul. That will take care of a lot of the shortcomings which you talked about. And the shortcomings, to my mind, are primarily administrative inexperience. And the second shortcoming is the demonstrable capability of 24/7 into 365 days immersed in politics. That only time will prove.
The Congress has to be clever in ensuring that it addresses the concerns and fears of different sections of the population today, Muslims, for example, who are feeling vulnerable, Dalits who are feeling vulnerable, without at the same time walking into a trap that the BJP would like it to walk into, which is to look at the upcoming battle purely as one to be fought on the secular communal axis. The BJP is most vulnerable on the economic front, and if the Congress wants to really make a game of it in the 2019 election, it needs to get its arguments together, it needs to get a plan of action together so that it can provide to people a convincing vision or a convincing alternative.